All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling a really stark, really uncompromising principle of power, pulled straight from our source material, the idea that you have to crush your enemy totally. It's a harsh concept for sure, but it's one that has echoed through the halls of power for centuries.
To get us started, check out this quote from the ancient philosopher Kautilya. This really sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about. He's not talking about the obvious immediate threat. No, he's warning about something much more subtle. How a seemingly beaten enemy, just a tiny spark, can eventually grow into an absolute inferno.
Okay, so in this first section, we're going to get right to the core argument from the source, and that is the idea that stopping halfway in a conflict can actually be way more dangerous than just seeing it through to a total decisive victory.
So what's the big idea here? It's not just about winning the battle, it's about ending the war, permanently. According to this way of thinking, if you leave an enemy wounded but still standing, what have you really created? You've created someone who's humiliated, resentful, and is pretty much guaranteed to be just biding their time, waiting for a chance to get revenge.
And listen, this isn't just some ancient philosophy from a dusty old book. As you can see from Napoleon's words right here, this is a strategic principle that some of history's biggest military minds have lived by. For Napoleon, you couldn't have ultimate victory without being completely, totally ruthless. No room for hesitation. So what happens when someone ignores this law? Well, the source material gives us a perfect, and kind of tragic, cautionary tale. Let's talk about the story of Shen Yu.
And what's so fascinating here is just how different these two guys were. On one side, you have Hong Yu. He's the whole package. Noble, powerful, a respected warrior. On the other side, Lu Peng. Totally different. Peasant background, super wily, a brilliant strategist. They actually started out as friends, but their personalities just put them on a collision course from the very beginning.
Man, when you lay it all out like this, it's just painful to watch. You can see every single moment where Shang Yu had total victory right in his hands, and he just pulled back. At the banquet, he had Lu Peng in a trap, but couldn't bring himself to give the order. Later, when he had Lu's army cornered, he chose mercy, and Lu just used that time to escape. Every single one of these hesitations was a fatal mistake, and it all led to his own army getting slaughtered when Lu finally got the upper hand and showed zero hesitation.
Yep. Lu Peng's advisor just nails it, doesn't he? Rearing a tiger. That's exactly what Shang Yu did. And of course, the tiger eventually devoured him. It was this ruthless way of thinking that ultimately led to Shang Yu's suicide and Lu Peng's rise as the emperor who founded the legendary Han dynasty. Okay, so that's what happens when you hesitate. Now, let's flip the coin and look at someone who, according to the text, followed this law to its most terrifying and, well, effective conclusion. And her path to power, wow, it is a chillingly methodical story. She didn't just beat her rivals, she completely eradicated them. First, she schemes her way out of a convent. Then, and this is just horrifying, she smothers her own baby, just so she can frame the existing empress. From there, she poisons or exiles anyone who could possibly be a threat. She left no one standing.
So the way our source material sees it, this wasn't just random, senseless cruelty. It was strategy. She knew, deep down, that in the world she lived in, it was a zero-sum game. Any mercy, any hesitation at all, would have been an opening for her enemies to destroy her. For Empress Wu, it was simple. Crush or be crushed.
Okay, so we've seen two pretty dramatic stories, but what's the actual logic behind this crush them totally idea? Let's break it down.
Well, it really boils down to a few core beliefs. First, the idea that your enemies will always want revenge. Always. Second, any mercy you show isn't seen as strength, it's seen as weakness, and that just makes them more determined. So according to this logic, real peace is only possible when they're gone.
And you see this line of thinking pop up all over the place. Throughout history, it's not just one person or one culture. The source connects this idea from Sun Tzu's The Art of War to Moses leading the Israelites, all the way to Mao Zedong relentlessly pursuing Chiang Kai-shek to Taiwan. The pattern is always the same. Leave no embers to reignite the fire.
And who better to sum up this whole cold-blooded philosophy than Machiavelli himself, right? If you're going to hurt someone, you have to do it so badly that you never have to worry about them coming back for revenge.
But hold on. Is it really that simple? Is crushing your enemy always the right move? Well, according to the source, no. Even a law this harsh has a really important exception.
This is the question you've probably been asking this whole time, right? Is this brutal approach really the only way? And the source material actually anticipates that and tackles it head-on. And here's where it gets really interesting, kind of counterintuitive. Sometimes, the smarter play is to actually leave your enemy an escape route. Give them a way out.
So why on earth would you do that? Well, it's all about psychology. Think about it. An animal backed into a corner is going to fight like crazy, right? They have nothing to lose. But an enemy that has a clear path to retreat, they get disorganized, demoralized. You can actually let their own escape be the thing that destroys them.
But, and this is a huge but, the source is super clear that this is a massive risk. It's a gamble. This is more of a tactic you might use in the heat of the moment, not a change in the overall strategy. Because if you show that leniency and that enemy ever starts plotting again, you're right back to square one. You have to crush them.
Which brings us back to this final, really powerful image from the text. This idea that a half-defeated enemy doesn't just come back. They come back stronger, angrier, with a double dose of venom. In this view, time doesn't heal those wounds, it just makes the poison more potent.
And that's really the final thought from the source material we're left with. It forces you to ask a tough question, one that applies way beyond ancient battlefields. In any kind of conflict, what is the true, long-term cost of hesitation? What is the price of showing mercy?